DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson. We're going to have a great show today. We have Dr. Travis O'Quinn from here at Kansas State University, where he serves as an assistant professor in the Department of Animal and Range Sciences, and he is a meat scientist. We're going to talk about what goes into getting that beef carcass to your plate. Stay tuned.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
This segment brought to you by the new Hired Hand Portable Cow Sprayer. For more information, visit cowsprayer.com.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Folks, this is Dr. Travis O'Quinn. He's a meat scientist and assistant professor in the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry here at Kansas State University. And great to have you here on the show, because we talked about, before lining this up, that a lot of people grow cattle, a lot of people eat beef, but there aren't a lot of people that know the process between the kill floor and the plate. And let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So when those cattle go to a packing plant and they get harvested, typically that harvest process will take anywhere, depending on the size of the plant, roughly somewhere between half an hour to an hour. And then once an animal goes into what we consider the hot box, or the section of the plant where we put all the hot carcasses, it undergoes a chill process, typically for about 24 to 28 hours of time. In that time period, we're trying to drop the temperature of the carcass, and that's an important time when we talk about meat quality and tenderness, because if we get that carcass too cold too fast, we can create some toughness problems, and if we don't chill it down fast enough, we can create some microbial problems. And so that time period immediately after the animal is harvested in the hot box is critical to ensure a good product throughout. Okay. After that time period, we'll actually take that carcass, it'll get ribbed between the 12th and 13th rib and be presented for the USDA graders at the grade stand.
So that's when they just take the knife between 12 and 13, they open that carcass up, and then you can see that.
Absolutely. From an industry perspective, when we talk about ribeye area, fat thickness, marbling, all of that's determined in that one spot.
Okay.
So when those graders take the knife and expose that ribeye, they'll actually allow it to sit there for about 30 minutes on what we call the bloom chain, where oxygen gets to that ribeye and allows it to get that bright cherry red color we associate with that ribeye.
Okay. So then it's going to come out of that process, and now we have all instrument grading pretty much?
Yes, instrument grading is very prevalent across the industry. Depends on the packing plant on whether or not they're allowing the instruments to actually apply the official USDA grades or not.
Okay.
But many packers actually are doing that. And so we'll have a camera put on that ribeye, and it'll determine all those factors and actually calculate a yield grade for the graders to use. The USDA graders will actually apply the official grade to the carcass, and then it'll go and get sorted based on whether or not what the grade of that carcass is, whether it's eligible for choice or select, or whether it's eligible for one of the many branded beef programs such as Certified Angus Beef.
Gotcha. So we have a lot of different programs and thought processes that are going into this. So we got about a minute before we go to break. Let's start out with the quality grade. Just kind of briefly describe it and tell us what the breakdowns are.
Absolutely. When we talk about quality grade, we're really talking about two things that go into that: the animal's age or the maturity of the animal, and the amount of marbling that's in that ribeye. And so when we look at the ribeye, the more marbling, the more valuable that carcass is, the higher valued due to that marbling and its impact on eating quality. And so when we take all the older cattle that are over 30 months of age, they're not eligible for the grades that many consumers are aware of, select, choice, prime. Those older cattle are only eligible for the older grades of beef and are much lower valued.
Gotcha. So age, marbling goes into quality grade. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll finish up quality grade. Let's talk a little bit about yield grade.
Absolutely.
Folks, Dr. Travis O'Quinn here from Kansas State University's Department of Animal Sciences and Industry. Thanks for watching DocTalk. More after these messages.
Say this is a calf that's been run through the chute a few too many times. Going through the chute stresses cattle, causing them not to eat like they should. Luckily, Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ provides proven protection against key respiratory diseases in a single shot, with just one trip through the chute. Talk to your veterinarian about Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ, and soon your calves will relax and eat like a whole different animal.
Still using ineffective fly tags on your cattle? It's time to eliminate fleas, ticks, flies, lice, and parasites, and at the same time, give them a shiny coat, making them more valuable. One fly tag can cost $2.50, but you can do this all for about a nickel a head. Introducing the Cow Sprayer, designed and built in the U.S. The Cow Sprayer is portable, solar-powered, and comes with a 25 or 40-gallon tank. Eliminate parasites for about 5 cents a head with the Cow Sprayer. Cowsprayer.com.
Do your cattle struggle with pink eye, BRD, or another disease? Contact Newport Laboratories for a customized solution. Our custom-made vaccines are produced using the specific diseases found in your area. These USDA licensed vaccines offer potential cost savings on vaccine and labor. Contact your veterinarian or Newport Laboratories the next time your cattle are in need of a custom solution. Newport Laboratories custom-made vaccine, because every situation is different.
This segment brought to you by the new Hired Hand Portable Cow Sprayer. For more information, visit cowsprayer.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Travis O'Quinn. We're at Kansas State University, where Dr. O'Quinn serves as an assistant professor in the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry as a meat scientist, and we're talking about beef. And when we left, we were still talking about the quality grade, which is, when I go in to look at steaks, I see prime, choice, select. What exactly am I picking out as a consumer?
Absolutely. So those grades all relate relatively to the amount of marbling that's in there. And what I mean by marbling, I'm talking about the individual flecks of fat that are in that cut of meat when you actually purchase it. So that's the fat that's in there. It's not removed. It's consumed by the consumer. And so what we know is that the more marbling that those products have, that the greater the eating experience will be. And actually, we can put some numbers around that. So if we talk about select, right now about 25% of beef are grading select. Within that, when we talk about strip loin steak, so a high valued item that's very tender that most consumers would consider a high, good quality meat product, if it's a select product, the consumer actually has about a 1 in 3 shot of that product failing to meet their eating expectations when they take it home and put it on the grill. So if you take a 1 in 3 times 25% of the cattle that are harvested, that's a lot of meat that's not failing to meet consumer expectations.
Right.
As we move up quality grades, choice, we actually get that, we can drop that number down to somewhere around 15%. When we go to prime, prime only fails at around 5% or less.
So 1 out of 20.
1 out of 20 to deliver the eating level that consumers expect. And so when we talk about adding value to carcasses by quality grade, that's the number one thing we can point at. And so it's worth the extra money if you're talking about taking a 1 in 3 shot versus a 1 in 20 shot in terms of eating quality.
So if you're having the boss over for a cookout, make sure you have prime, and if the in-laws are coming, take a chance with the other, right?
That's exactly right.
anyway, let's talk about yield grade, okay? So you got different yield grades, and kind of what is that a description of?
Right, so yield grade is very important as well. Yield grade is an indication of what percentage of that carcass is actually going to be edible product.
Okay.
And so when we think about heavier muscled trimmer animals, they produce carcasses that are heavier muscled and trimmer, and therefore we have more saleable products. So if we have an 800-pound carcass, we can recover more of that in sellable steaks and roasts as opposed to a fatter, lighter muscled animal.
Okay, and so these are a numbered system, right?
Absolutely. So we have a 5-point system, a yield grade 1.0. We can think about it as Arnold Schwarzenegger, really heavy muscled, really trim. That grading system goes all the way to a 5.9, which is really fat and light muscled. Chris Farley would be an example of a yield grade 5.9. And so, and everything in between. And so the combination of fat, weight of the carcass, how much internal fat as well as external fat on that carcass goes into that to be able to segregate those carcasses into those 5 yield grades.
Okay, so then how do we use quality grade and yield grade for pricing and things to that nature?
Absolutely. So most producers and packers, or most feeders marketing or cattle on a grid-based system, it all goes back to a tie-in to the value of the amount of marbling or the quality grade associated with the yield grade. So we can think of an average for most base grid pricing systems out there would be a low choice yield grade 3. And so anything that's higher quality in terms of prime or top choice and something that would be like a certified Angus beef, or things that are trimmer, so heavier muscled and trimmer or higher cutability, result in premiums. Whereas if we have cattle producers or feeders that are having more external fat, lighter muscle cattle that aren't getting the same level of marbling, they actually go down for a dock off of that grid-based system.
Perfect. Folks, we're going to take a break. Dr. Travis O'Quinn, meat scientist here at Kansas State University. We'll see you after these messages.
Some call it a come-from-behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
If my calves start healthy and stay healthy, I've got a good shot at making money. That is why I trust Clostrix. It gives my calves the protection they need until their own immune systems kick in.
Calf raisers trust Colostrix colostrum supplements. Colostrix is USDA licensed and proven effective. When your money is on the line, trust Colostrix.
I've always had an interest in care for the animals and their well-being. Really what we want to do is work hard to eliminate as much feedlot lameness or beef cattle lameness as possible.
How we feed a cow on a daily basis can not only have daily effects, but they can also have long-term effects on claw health, reproductive performance, mammary health, all of those factors as we look at the inputs and the response that the animal has to what we feed them.
When animals have adequate intake of effective nutrients, we take care of the immune system and performance follows. It's important that the consumers understand our dedication to the well-being of these animals.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Travis O'Quinn. We're at Kansas State University. Dr. Travis O'Quinn, meat scientist, assistant professor here in the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry. And we've talked, Travis, about quality grade and yield grade, and now let's go ahead and we move that carcass off the chain.
Absolutely. So most of the time when we're in a packing plant, somewhere around 2 days, 3 days of time period after that carcass is harvested before it actually goes into what we call the fabrication floor. That's where we're actually going to take that carcass down what's called the disassembly line. So if we think about an automotive line, we're putting each piece onto the car. Well, in a beef plant, it works the opposite. We're taking piece by piece off as that carcass goes down. And so what we'll do is we'll end up breaking that carcass into what are called wholesale cuts or primal cuts. And so these are the 4 major cuts that we think of typically in a beef carcass. So the chuck, the rib, the loin, and the round. Now each of those cuts is very large, and so historically we would have sold those as swinging beef either as sides or as primals to different retailers. Today we have what's called boxed beef. What we'll actually do is we'll take those large primals and break them down into smaller primals that can actually fit into a vacuum bag and be put in a box and sent all around the United States. That way, if we're looking to fabricate just ribeye steaks, we don't have to get the whole primal rib. We can just purchase ribeye rolls that we can cut from one end to the other into ribeye steaks. And so that makes it very convenient for retailers.
Absolutely. And so when we get it, once it gets into, that's when someone says this carcass is going to fit the box.
That's exactly right.
What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so that's a question I get asked all the time. When we talk about fitting the box, there actually is boxes that go down predetermined size conveyor belts at these packing plants. And so if we get primals that are too large to go into those boxes, that creates a lot of challenges because we don't have any way throughout the packing plant to get that meat out the back door.
Gotcha. And if it's too small, it's rattling around in the box,
That's exactly right as well.
So it truly is growing an animal that is in the window of size and carcass to fit the boxed beef in the boxes.
Absolutely.
So it's not just a slang term.
It's not just a term.
All right. So where do we go from there?
Well, actually, what happens is most of the time with that fresh beef is it goes out the back of the packing plant and then it goes to a number of different destinations.
Okay.
So some of that will go to a centralized packing location. So many of our large retailers, what they'll do is they'll have a centralized location where they'll buy in all ribeye rolls, strip loins, and then they'll fabricate those into steaks at that centralized location, and then they'll actually package the steaks, and the packages of steaks will go out to the retail stores in what we call case-ready packages. Okay. And so if you ever look at the grocery store and you pick up a steak and on the back it's got a USDA inspection logo with a number on there that says the establishment number, that means that steak was actually packaged off-site and came in that package. Some of the meat, some retailers, now the number is decreasing, will actually cut their steaks in-house. And so some of that boxed beef will go to various retailers or grocery stores across the United States to be cut in store.
Cool. So like large retailer grocers will have a centralized place where they'll cut them and basically have a fabrication area and then send it out to their stores?
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, it's amazing to me the intricacy in the system we have in place.
Yeah, it truly is amazing. When you think of how many cattle and how many different facilities, all to get that steak to the grocery store for you to purchase and eat on July 4th, it's incredible.
That's great. Folks, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with our final segment here with Dr. Travis O'Quinn.
Did you know long-range planning through the checkoff can help keep your business profitable? To successfully pass on cattle operations from one generation to the next, it's important to promote beef and keep farms and ranches profitable. Your beef checkoff helps do that.
We're Jurger's Cattle Company, cow-calf operation primarily with a small replacement heifer operation. We started our operation in 2012, but we expanded on my father-in-law's operation, who started in the 70s, and built off his expertise and his knowledge and have taken and grown it to what it is today. We span about 4 different counties in North and South Carolina, running about 1,000 acres with 350 roughly head of mama cows. My husband and I and my son and my father-in-law operate together. About 2 years ago, we decided to make the switch to become all-natural producers. And what that means is it's a certain standard of quality and life for not only the calves that become part of the food source and the meat itself, but the cows also. Beef checkoff is important for our operation in a twofold way. First is marketing, creating a customer for us. We sell directly to feedlots, but our end game is the consumer. We want to create a product for the consumer that they desire, that they want to go back to the supermarket or steakhouse and they want more beef. Everybody knows the slogan, beef is what's for dinner, but it falls even more than that in that they've raised consumer awareness in quality, which is important to us because we try to focus heavily on our genetics. That's a main component of our operation, and the checkoff has allowed us to do that by promoting a product that's important to the consumer, that it's good quality, it's safe, it's nutritious, and they're gonna want to be return customers.
I've always had an interest in care for the animals and their well-being. Really what we want to do is work hard to eliminate as much feedlot lameness or beef cattle lameness as possible.
How we feed a cow on a daily basis can not only have daily effects, but they can also have long-term effects on claw health, reproductive performance, mammary health, all of those factors as we look at the inputs and the response that the animal has to what we feed them.
When animals have adequate intake of effective nutrients, we take care of the immune system and performance follows. It's important that the consumers understand our dedication to the well-being of these animals.
Still using ineffective fly tags on your cattle? It's time to eliminate fleas, ticks, flies, lice, and parasites, and at the same time, give them a shiny coat, making them more valuable. One fly tag can cost $2.50, but you can do this all for about a nickel a head. Introducing the Cow Sprayer, designed and built in the U.S. The Cow Sprayer is portable, solar-powered, and comes with a 25 or 40-gallon tank. Eliminate parasites for about 5 cents a head with the Cow Sprayer. Cowsprayer.com.
It's easy to spot the man who uses Synanthic. With lower volume and less waste, Synanthic steps up your deworming routine. Get more deworming with less dewormer at Synanthic.com.
Beringer Ingelheim Vet Medica Inc. knows the importance of beef quality assurance and asks you to step up and get certified. Go to bqa.org for details.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Travis O'Quinn, and we're talking about beef. And Dr. O'Quinn is a meat scientist. He's here at Kansas State University's Department of Animal Sciences and Industry. And when we left, we had it to the grocery store. So now we're going to put it in our cart, pay for it, and take it home.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of things that people don't realize about that steak when they first purchase it at the grocery store. Many people, if you ask how old is that steak when you actually purchase it, how long from the time when you purchased that steak before when that animal died, the truth is that most of the time if we go to our grocery store, there's about 25 days of time period where that animal is harvested until it actually reaches you as the consumer in the grocery store. That's actually a really good thing because in that time, we actually have enzymes in that meat making it more tender. And so the longer we keep it in a fresh state without freezing it, we have the ability to actually improve tenderness. And that's what we all really want is a really tender steak.
Right.
And so take that steak home at that point in time. I'm a big believer in matching the cooking method with the cut that you actually have. You go to the grocery store, you have all these different cuts that are available. The key is they're all priced different. So maybe you want a round steak today because it's a little cheaper, maybe a ribeye next week. That round steak needs to be cooked completely different than the ribeye. You can have a very good eating experience with some tougher cuts from the round or even from the chuck if you actually cook them through some kind of moist heat cookery. So think of like cooking in a stew or a slow cooker in a crock pot, anything we're adding moisture to, braising. We can create very, very tender products that way.
Cool. And then on the ribeyes, obviously,
absolutely,
smokers, grills.
Absolutely. So ribeyes, T-bone steaks, tenderloin steaks, these are all very tender cuts. And so we can use those cuts on the grill, high temperature, short amount of time to actually achieve the high level eating quality. I would say that the biggest mistake that consumers typically make at their home is to overcook meat. Yeah. And that's probably the worst thing you can do. You buy a really expensive ribeye at the grocery store, take it home and overcook it. Everyone in the family has a bad eating experience. My wife gets on me. You know how that goes, right? And so the thing that I would recommend to most consumers is to purchase and use a good food thermometer when they're cooking a steak. That's the only way to repeatedly guarantee that you're hitting the right degree of doneness every time. And so some people tell you, you put your finger and it's different degrees of doneness. And I say, well, that works sometimes. I care about having a steak get the right degree of doneness every time.
Right.
And so a food thermometer, if you cook to 140 degrees, that's rare. 160 is medium. Anything more than that would be well done, so 170. And so I would encourage consumers to purchase and use food thermometers when they're cooking meat, not just from a food safety standpoint, but to guarantee that you get that steak the perfect degree of doneness every time.
And when we're talking about food safety with steaks versus ground beef, we're more worried about the surface, right?
Absolutely. So steaks, that center of that steak, we can cook it to a rare degree of doneness because there's no bacteria or pathogens in the center that are going to make you sick. Ground beef, however, the center of that hamburger was once the outside. So once we grind it up, we create a potential contamination issue in the center of that ground beef patty. So we want to make sure that we're cooking all of our hamburgers to at least 160 degrees.
Well, we're going to have you back on the show. This is just
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much, Travis, and thank you for watching DocTalk. If you want to know more about what we do on DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian and meat scientist. Thanks for watching DocTalk today. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and I'll see you down the road. Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.